Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Um, we are going to be looking at volume and prisms and cylinders this week. Okay, so just to kind of go over what volume is the amount of space inside a three-dimensional figure. Okay, so volume is the amount of space inside a three-dimensional figure. So just like area is the amount of space inside a two-dimensional figure, volume would be kind of the same thing for a three-dimensional figure. So it's measured in cubed units. Okay, so on your units, you're always going to put units cubed. Again, area is units squared. Volume would be units cubed. Okay, so the formula for this is pretty straightforward. For a rectangular prism, the formula is volume is equal to length times the width times the height. Okay, so all you're doing is multiplying length times width times height. So for example, and again, this is pretty straightforward, all you're going to be doing here for number one is multiplying 5 by 3 by 2. Okay, and you can do that in whatever order you want. So we get 15 times 2 to give us 30 meters cubed. Okay, same thing for number two. You're just multiplying the length times the width times the height in any order. Okay, so I'm going to do 5 times 4 first to get 20 times 10 is 200 centimeters cubed. Okay, and same exact thing here for the last one. I'm going to do 2 by 3 by 6. So this gives me 36 feet cubed. Okay, so that's your formula for a rectangular prism. We also have a different formula here for a triangular prism. So this is still, base times height times length, but because it's a triangle as the base, it's half the base times the height times the length. So for example, when you're looking at number one, we have the base of the triangle here times the height of the triangle, and then times the length of the whole entire figure. This 5 is not anything that we would use in the formula. So that's just the slant height here. That's not giving us any information. Okay, so we would be doing 1/2 times 6 times 4 times 12. Okay, so I can again do this in any order. So I'm going to do half of 6 first, which is 3. 3 times 4 is 12, and then bring down 12 again, which gives me 144 meters cubed. Okay, so same thing here for number two. So I'm going to do, the base is the triangle. Okay, so I'm going to do 1/2 times the 5 times 12, and then times the 4, which is the distance between these two triangles, the one in the front and the one in the back. Okay. 13 is just like this slant height here again. So that's not giving us anything, so we're not going to use it. So when I multiply this now, I'm going to do, 5 times 12, I know is 60, and then 1/2 of 60 is 30, and then I'll bring down my 4 and do 30 times 4 is 120 centimeters cubed. All right, so that would be for triangular prisms. And then we have cylinders. Okay, so for a cylinder, the base here that you're looking at is a circle. Okay, so that's the other thing that I forgot to mention in the beginning. The shape is determined by the base. So like this is a circle and a circle, that's a cylinder. These you could see it was a triangle, right? And the back here was a triangle. Okay, so that's why it's a triangular prism. And then obviously these are all rectangles here. So that's why it's a rectangular prism. So for a cylinder, you're going to use pi times the radius squared, and then you're going to multiply it by the height of the entire figure. So again, you're going to find your base, which for a cylinder would be the circles, okay? And your formula is pi times the radius squared, and then h stands for the height of the whole entire figure. So that's the distance from each of the bases, from base to base. So 12 here would be our height. Okay, so I'm going to put in 3.14 for pi times my radius is 4, so 4 squared, times the height, which again is the distance between these two bases here, would be 12. And you can just go ahead and type all of that into your calculator. Make sure you're using 3.14 and not the pi button. And then make sure when you're doing 4, you're squaring it. Do not multiply it by 2. Okay, and you should get 602.88 centimeters cubed. Okay, so same thing with number 2. So it's a cylinder, so we know our bases are the two circles here. Okay, so in our formula, it's again pi times the radius squared, so that's talking about the base, the cylinder, times the height, which is the distance between the two circles. So in this one, it's not actually giving us our radius, right? So this line is showing the diameter since it's the whole entire way across. So the diameter is equal to 9, which again, to get to the radius, we have to divide it by 2. So we know the radius is equal to 4.5. So we're going to do pi times 4.5 squared. The height from base to base would be our 6 inches. And again, you're just going to type this all into your calculator. So 3.14 times 4.5 to the second power times 6. If you are having trouble finding the squared button on your calculator, remember you can always just write that out and do 4.5 times 4.5. Okay, to get 381.51 inches cubed. So those are your basic formulas. The second thing that we're going to do that's a little bit different is they're going to ask you to work backwards. So here they're giving you the volume, and then they're asking you to find a missing measurement. So the most important thing is just writing out your formula here. So we know that for a rectangular prism, our formula is base times height times length. Okay, so what we're going to do is plug in what we know. So we know the volume is 210. We know the base times the height times the length. We're going to plug those in. Okay, and we're going to be solving for our h value here. So 5 times 14 gives you 70 times h is equal to 210. And you know if you're multiplying, you need to divide because that's the opposite operation. So you're going to do 210 divided by 70. Remember, you can cross the zeros out there to get 3 centimeters for your height. Same thing for number 2. So this is a cylinder, so we're going to write out the formula for a cylinder, which is pi times the radius squared times the height of the whole entire figure. And we're going to plug in what we know. So we know the volume is 254. We know pi is 3.14. We know the radius is 9 squared, and we're missing the height. So you're going to multiply everything you can on the right-hand side here to simplify this. So 9 squared we know is 81 times 3.14. So we get 254 is equal to 254.34 times the height. Again, this is connected by multiplication, so you're going to undo it by dividing. And you're just going to type that into your calculator. And you should end up getting 0.998. So we're going to round that to actually we're going to round it to 1. So it's 0.998. So that rounds up to 1 meter. Okay, so the last one we're going to try is a triangular prism. Again, go ahead and write out your formula. Okay, we're going to plug in what we know. So we know the volume is 150. We don't know the base here, that's the U. The height is 6, and the length is 10. So it doesn't matter what order this is in, you can still multiply the 1/2 times the 6 times the 10. So we know 6 times 10 is 60, and half of that gives us 30. And then we're just going to bring this U down. Okay, so we're going to divide by 30 on both sides here. And again, you can cross off your zeros, so it just becomes 15 divided by 3 to give us 5 for the centimeters. Okay, so that was the last thing, is just when you're given the volume, finding the missing side lengths. So make sure if there's anything you have questions on, star it or highlight it, and then we can go over it together in the live session. Hope everybody's having a good week, and I will see you soon.